in high school, and you're right, I was not used to people speaking all in Spanish. You were like a force of nature when you came in, and so it was, but I just really, again, you had such a passion and such a drive to teach what you loved, and because of that, I just fell in love with it.
Oh, Becky, thank you. You touched my heart. Now, by the time that I met Shayla, she had already decided she wanted to be a teacher, and she came to my classroom as a teacher, a student teacher. It was fun to see Shayla approach her work with such passion. As her teacher of record, I would offer her suggestions from time to time, things she might do to improve, and she was always ready to receive, just receptive to any improvement. She was one of those perfectionists. She would sometimes even tear up a bit when I offered her a piece of advice, but I knew she would grow into an amazing teacher who would inspire her own students. Those high expectations that she set for herself were exactly why she was one of the 12 finalists for the Teacher of the Year in our state of Oklahoma. I had a chance to chat with her just the other day about what that recognition meant to her. Let's take a look.
As a classroom teacher, it was a tremendous honor to be selected amongst my peers at Jinx High School to represent them in our district-wide search for the District Teacher of the Year. I feel very honored and blessed to represent Jinx High School and the teachers that we have here. It's certainly an honor to be able to represent world language teachers and speak to the importance of world language education in our society today. And as a top 12 finalist in the state of Oklahoma, I feel that I have a platform to not only be able to speak to the importance of world language education in our state in the midst of budget crisis in education, but also to remember and thank and honor the teachers who poured themselves into me and helped me become the teacher that I am today.
These three are just amazing. Now, let's say hello to Taja. As a student, Taja was attentive, meticulous in her work, always prepared, just perfect, but overall very quiet and reserved. Then we went to Mexico on an exchange program, and I saw Taja's eyes light up when she could achieve and when she saw what she could achieve and experience as a language teacher. On that trip, she understood what she was going to do with her life. Taja, can you remember what it was on that trip that led you to become a Spanish teacher?
Well, I remember going to Mexico not feeling very confident in being able to communicate. And then after a few days, I remember looking out on the city and feeling this joy and peace and confidence that I didn't have before. And after that, I thought, well, whatever I do with my life, I want it to involve Spanish, because I saw how you made it come alive for me in the classroom and by giving me the opportunity to go to Mexico and stay with the family. And from that, I was just inspired.
Wonderful. Well, ladies, now I have something I'd like you and the audience to see. Just as you were hopefully inspired by me, and certainly the other teachers you have had, we have a video of some of your students whose lives you've touched. I want all of you to know this is the first time that Taja and Becky have seen this video. Let's look.
She showed me that not only was it doable, but I was very much capable of doing it, and the confidence is a huge part of learning a language, and she was able to inspire that in me pretty early on.
She was able to bring it in and make it fun for us and make it relatable, and we're able to just grow personally. And then in my life I've also grown professionally. I've used some of the Spanish that I've learned in her class in my ministry, and she was just such a blessing for me.
She taught me a lot of things that I didn't even know in Spanish, even though it's my first language. And if I had to rate her Spanish 1 to 10, I would give her 100. It's amazing.
I was worried for the AT test that I wasn't going to do very well on it, and she offered to stay after class with me to help me study extra time. She even offered to meet me at her son's soccer practice to help me practice some more outside of the classroom setting.
Miss Eggert inspired my enthusiasm to learn language with her enthusiasm. Every time we entered class, she'd say, "Hola chicos y chicas, listos," and we'd be ready to go, and everybody would be excited, and people would be participating, raising their hands here and there, and everybody was excited to learn Spanish and ready to learn Spanish, and it all started with her excitement to teach us.
When we're having group discussions or situations where everyone is talking in Spanish and someone messes up or doesn't pronounce something correctly, she uses it as a learning experience for everyone and treats it in a positive way rather than negative or tearing that person down.
Mrs. Dawson is a wonderful person, and she's special to me. And I could spend this time talking about her leadership, her character, and her integrity. But allow me to share with you why she's special to me. You see, you've heard the term that sometimes you have to believe in what others see in you until you can see it for yourself. Well, that's what Mrs. Dawson did for me. She made me believe in not in who I was, but the possibility of what I could become. And in the next few months, I will be promoted to Brigadier General in your United States Air Force. And I owe a lot of my career success to Mrs. Dawson. 1, because she believed in me. 2, because she instilled in me a passion for learning languages.
I want you to know that was a surprise to me too. Oh goodness. Well, Taja and Becky, before we conclude this segment, what did you think about your past students' comments? Taja?
It's very surprising because the two students that spoke were two opposites. One very studious, the other very active, and you needed to be entertained every time. And I never thought of myself as that, and you don't often get to hear what influence you have on your students. And that was very special to me to hear from them.
And Becky?
It really touched my heart. You saw Katie. She actually works at our school now, and her husband is our Spanish 1 teacher. And I had her as a student, and she was always just a perfect student, always did so well. And then Josh, the other one you saw, there were just some kids that just touch your heart. He actually went to the principal crying because he couldn't have me in Spanish further along. And so they're just awesome people, and I really love how I've been able to stay connected with them in their lives after they become adults. And just like you have, you stayed connected with us as adults and continued mentoring us, and I want to thank you for that.
Well, you are so welcome. Truly, nothing gives me more joy than seeing these two ladies and the others come into the profession and be part of us. Becky and Taja, thank you so much for being here today and for being part of the great tradition of teaching. Let's give them one more round of applause. Becky, Taja, and Shayla. The message I want to leave with you today is to remember that you can play an important role in the development of new teachers. When we do see those students who have that interest and that early stirring of maybe wanting to pursue a career in teaching, like Becky, Taja, Shayla, let's recognize that spark of interest and act on it. Let's look for and identify those teaching candidates and give them the encouragement that might move them toward a decision to become a teacher. When we see students in our classrooms who show an affinity for education and for language, let's nurture that potential and offer whatever guidance we can to help them discover the rewards of learning language education principles. Even those students who don't yet realize where their interest in language can take them can be steered toward a career in language teaching. I know you have amazing students back in your classrooms, right? Yes, just like Becky, Taja, and Shayla. They are ready to receive that spark of inspiration you can give them. So while you're here this week at ACTFL, I hope you'll reignite your own spark and return to your classroom freshly recharged and ready to show that next generation of teachers how thrilling and fulfilling a career in teaching languages can be. Thank you to all of you.
Ni hao or Здравствуйте. I had to Google that, if you can't tell, because I was your worst nightmare as a student. I was the kid who rolled his eyes at Senora Kurchowski when she said, "Otra vez en español." I hated conjugation, I hated vocabulary, and when I'm here with all of you beautiful people today, I'm looking for atonement. I want to make up for that. I want to tell you how much you were all respected and loved. Congratulations to Jing, the winner of the Teacher of the Year. I was back there with a big hand for our Teacher of the Year. I was back there sharing the green room, and they were reaching for the Kleenexes as she hinted that there was going to be some student gratitude as a surprise, and just proof that all of you are in this for such the right reasons at such a vital time, I think. Dusk, and I said, "What are we going to eat? I didn't notice we didn't pack any provisions for this trip." He says, "We're going to fish." And I said, "Really? Okay, it's going to be dark soon." They throw nets into the water and filled it up in the bottom of the boat in about 7 minutes. It's just these reefs that are just full of life, and unlike so many other places in the world, we're just surviving as a day-to-day struggle. These folks have an abundance of natural resources. And what really inspired this trip was a photographer by the name of Jimmy Nelson, who does a project called Before They Pass Away, where he goes and takes these sumptuous photographs of tribes around the world. This is the photograph that inspired my trip. And I said, I want to go to that spot, and I want to meet those guys. And gloriously, thanks to the beauty of my job, flew around the world and walked through a jungle, and there's the guy in the photo. His name is Bob. He was actually wearing a New York Yankees t-shirt the day I met him, and it turns out that Jimmy Nelson, the photographer, had actually asked him to put on his tribal gear and climb the rock, because nobody goes up and climbs that rock. That's ridiculous. But he opened my eyes to the struggle that people like this around the world are having in this modern 21st century. He told me the story about the day a white man showed up with a bag full of money.
This man came here and he was very, very friendly.
Bob has a similar story about another rich white man, this one from California, who had plans for the entire island.
3 million.
Okay, so that's $30,000.
Yes. 3 million is only half of this island.
Okay.
Yes.
So he wanted to buy half this island
half of this
for
island.
$30,000. You could stay and keep the other half,
Yes.
and then work in his hotel.
Yes.
And next time he come back with money now.
He came back with actual cash.
Cash money.
Okay.
With the big money, he opened up the cash money and said, "Here, your money." I never seen a big bag of money. This is my first. I see the big money, like I seen in television, but not in the.
Yeah. Hey, I've never seen a big bag of cash. Not like that.
When I was seeing, all my body is shaking.
Oh. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's shaking and all my teeth running.
Oh my God.
And I said, "Oh, how can I say yes or no? This is my money. It's in front of me."
In the end, he just couldn't bring himself to settle. But for his neighbors, the temptation was so much harder to resist.
The men said, "You can bite it." Yes, you can bite it.
But the women,
but the women said, "Oh no, no way, no way." Yes.
Interesting. Yes, the landladies of paradise didn't want to become tenants. But it seems like only a matter of time before someone makes them an offer no one can refuse.
a lot of white people come and they get electricity and better roads and a lot of these things here. It will change your life. It'll change the rhythms of your life, what time you go to bed, when you wake up, when you get to fish. Maybe your children will be working in a restaurant instead of fishing on the reef. Is that okay?
Yes, it means okay.
It's okay, yeah. Be careful what you wish for.
Exactly. Be careful what you wish for.
It's easy to romanticize places like this where the sun is their alarm clock and the tides are their watch, and they roll out of bed before dawn, and the first thing on their mind is, what do we eat today? Do I have to catch it or pick it? It's easy to romanticize those sorts of lives. But the day after that episode aired, a devastating Category 5 cyclone hit Vanuatu. Thankfully, all of our friends survived, but who are we to say they can't have cement walls and a decent roof and a flat screen TV and a smooth road? Who are we to tell them, especially the women, held down by ancient superstition that they are equal citizens of this place? Who are we to stop this from happening? Bob can't wait till the hotels arrive. He thinks that's a ticket to a better life because he has a cell phone. He's seen what we have. He wants it too. But what's interesting is you go a couple islands over and you meet the Yakel, who literally live like this in the trees, but not out of isolated ignorance, but by choice. Their chief has actually been to Manhattan and London, and they said, no thanks, we're fine. Happiness is directly proportional, most positive psychologists will tell you, to the number of people you are willing to hug in your life. We are wired, we evolved to be small, tight societies, about the size of a small combat group or a small church or a VFW hall. We're not wired to have 1,500 Facebook friends that we never see anymore. And so these societies, this example is because every day is a matter of communal survival. It forms the tightest human connections. Sebastian Junger's great book now called Tribe, the great war photographer, talks about PTSD, our veterans coming back from war and missing the action and being depressed, and you see the suicide rates as people try to come back into society. I always thought that maybe that had something to do with sort of the adrenaline charge of being in a firefight. It has more to do with being part of that group where every day your roles are defined and every day you're dependent on each other. And I went back through the Sydney airport after this, and going through duty-free, the riots of like electronics and perfumes, made me really think about what we think we want, what we need out of life. But the question is, can a place like that move into the modern world and find some middle ground, maintain, hold on to their culture, hold on to the simplicity and the purity of their lands, and still grow and still develop? Well, I went looking for that and found the next best model of that way up at the roof of the world, a little fairy tale kingdom in the Himalayas. Check this out.
محمد مش عارفة أقربها لأنه إيدي
We hold these truths to be self-evident. We are all created equal. We all deserve life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Man, there's a concept for you. The pursuit of happiness as a God-given right. It's an idea so American, Thomas Jefferson even capitalized the H. And ever since, the soundtrack of America's pursuit is driven by the downbeat of progress.
Building, growing, bigger, faster, newer, richer. This country's been chasing happiness for 240 years. So I wonder, at what point do we catch it?
I wonder, because we are headed to a kingdom of happiness, where that pursuit sounds like this. Where wheels turn no profit, but spread compassion. The last authentic place on earth, some say. But for how long? And when it comes to the pursuit of happiness, what do they know that we don't?
Bhutan is this place. It's this little mouse of an island between, or a country between two elephants of China and India, way high up there in the Himalayas. And it's about maybe the population of Charlotte or Oklahoma City, and they live in these pristine valleys, sort of cut off from the rest of the world. They didn't get television until 1990.
Remember. So anyway, I write this song about my own self-help therapy and my struggle. And who knew that that would be the song, finally, after 10 years of struggling in Nashville, that would be the song that actually gets recorded. When I got the call from Miley Cyrus, they were going to record it for the Hannah Montana movie, I thought, yeah, right, it's just going to be another joke, you know, this can't happen to me. But it did. It got recorded and went to 5 different formats, and it stayed at the #1 position for 15 weeks. As a songwriter, there's no greater, that's it, that's the pinnacle. At the same time, I was having my first child, and I was reaping all the rewards of motherhood and being a career woman, which I think a couple of women out there might know something about. But I've gotten to hear this song sung so many incredible places. She sang it at Obama's inauguration. I've gotten to hear it on American Idol. I've had people write me letters that they used this for their chemo treatment, or they ran their last mile of a marathon to the song. But personally, the best time I've ever heard it sang was at my daughter's pre-K graduation. So I'm going to sing it for you now, and thank you so much. I'm going to send this out to anybody out there that is frustrated about where they're at, and the daily grind, and hopefully you find some comfort in these words. Step
for President, Dessa Dawson.
It's a real pleasure and an honor for me to present to you the amazing group of finalists for the 2018 National Language Teacher of the Year. These teachers have also impacted the lives of so many students during their careers. Let's meet this year's candidates.
Representing the Central States Conference on the Teaching of Foreign Languages, a teacher of Spanish at Scripps Middle School in Lake Orion, Michigan, Melissa Dalton. Representing the Northeast Conference on the Teaching of Foreign Languages, a teacher of Spanish at Dr. William Minnie's Elementary School in Vineland, New Jersey, Caleb Howard. Representing the Pacific Northwest Council for Languages, a teacher of French at Mount Vernon High School in Mount Vernon, Washington, Catherine Usala. Representing the Southern Conference on Language Teaching, a teacher of German at the University of Kentucky in Lexington, Brenna Bird. Representing the Southwest Conference on Language Teaching, a teacher of Chinese at Cupertino High School in Cupertino, California, Yin Jin.
We are fortunate to have these 5 outstanding finalists this morning vying for the title of ACTFL's 2018 National Language Teacher of the Year. These candidates go through a very rigorous screening process to be selected as a finalist. So this is a well-deserved honor for each of them. Since I don't know which of these finalists has been selected to represent ACTFL as the 2018 Language Teacher of the Year, I would like to ask our 2017 Teacher of the Year, Katrina Griffin, to bring out the award, and this year's Awards Committee Chairman, Rita Oleksak, to bring out the envelope. I want to thank all the members of the selection committee, Rita Oleksak, Leslie Baldwin, Kate Paisani, Brandon Locke, and Bonnie Flint for their hard work in selecting this year's winner from such an outstanding group of finalists. And now, our 2018 ACTFL National Language Teacher of the Year is, envelope please, Ying Jin.
I know I have only 1 minute, so I'm going to be really quick before I start to cry. Thank you, ACTFL, for this award. And thank you, Southwest Code and California Language Teachers Association for your nomination. As language teachers, we all know the letter C, how important letter C is in our life. And I'm grateful there were a total of 8 C's that have profound impact on my professional life. Besides the 5 C's we're all familiar with, I want to thank Cupertino, California, and Chinese. I'm just so proud to be a member of Cupertino community, Fremont Union High School District, my colleagues, my administrators, my students, thank you. And California, I'm the teacher I am today because of my California professional family. Thank you, Stanford World Language Project, California Language Teachers Association, all my California friends, and especially you, Dr. Dort Silva. Thank you for being my mentor, my colleague, and my friend. And thank you, all my Chinese teacher friends. You're my inspiration, you're my best cheerleaders. And a special thank you, class. Chinese Language Association for Secondary and Elementary Schools. I'm just so honored to have found a profession I love and I feel passionate about. And to all my world language teacher friends, let's work together to help American kids to thrive in the 21st century and beyond. And I'm honored to be on the stage with these beautiful people. You guys are wonderful. This is also yours. Last, I hope I'm still on my 1 minute. Last but not my least, my family. I wish my parents, my sister and her family were here with me. I know they are here with me in my heart. And thank you, Edward, for being my lucky star. And happy birthday. Thank you.
The culture,
العادات الأصيلة ما تتغير عليك، بس نكهات ماك أريبيا دائما تتجدد لك. استمتع بنكهات ماك أريبيا العربية الأصيلة الشهية والجديدة. ماك أريبيا، أصله وفصله عربي.
Okay. Words that you heard. عربي.
عادات.
دجاج مقرمش.
لا قالت الفايدة خلاص
عادات أصيلة. استمتع. verbs. استمتع.
أصله وفصله.
أصله وفصله. شو؟
عربي.
Yes. شهية. Any? Back there. شو؟ ما تتغير. ما تتبدل. Okay? Now new words. The students, they tend to hear the words that are familiar with. Now you're going to ask, did you hear anything new? And they can catch something. Sometimes they say it wrong. You're going to help them a little bit. Now, if you noticed, I focused on 2 expressions here. العادات الأصيلة ونكهات شهية. You can add more if you like, right? Now, then I'll ask, can you guess the meaning of these new words? Because elementary level, they're not going to know those, right? I mean, maybe عادة, عادات, but أصيلة, نكهات شهية, not necessarily, okay? So can you guess based on the context of...
And the root of the أصيلة.
Yes. Now, if you want to go further, which I don't like sometimes at this level, but you see you have the plural forms, you know, you see also that you have the agreement between, you know, the adjectives, right? For non-human, you know, it does not agree in gender and in number, like, so, you know, regular plural. So up to you, depends on what you plan. But for me, for that specific lesson plan, I was focusing on vocabulary. I'll show you another example where I focused on the grammar. So this one was mainly vocabulary, intended. And then I'll move on to a close activity. So you're gonna answer, this time I asked my students, and you notice the first list of questions, they were in English, right? Especially when we're discussing format and content. I mean, you want the students at this at beginner level to be comfortable. So I usually start, the questions with, it's okay if they answer me in English, I can, add some Arabic, but here, specifically in Arabic. So number one, name the specific product advertised in the commercial. So they're gonna say, Mac Arabia or دجاج مشوي, right? مقرمش, yes, نعم, مقرمش, مصرة على المقرمش. Where does the ad take place? في مطعم. They already used the word مطعم at the beginning. To be specific, أي مطعم? مطعم McDonald's.
Mac Arabia.
Mac Arabia is the name of the sandwich. Now, yes. What is the message of the commercial? And you guys already said it. Aslo. And usually the message comes out at the end of, right? This is the catch, the phrase the students are gonna leave. You want them when they leave, repeating that sentence. And you don't want, after using commercials for about a month and a half in my class, we made a list of messages like that. It's like proverbs, basically. My students, they have a huge list so far, and they already connect with it.
Read the whole thing. So think about this different level of introducing the text. Okay, so purposeful communication, this is the key. They're not going to teach the students just to communicate for nothing. It has to be, if I teach them words for interview someone, it has to be purposeful. We don't walk in the street and just talk with anybody without a purpose. So whatever we teach them, it has to have a reason, hadaf, why. So enable students to use the target language, knowing how, when, and why to say what to, and to whom. Okay, that's very important. They're not machines. مرحبا أنا اسمي كذا أنا. No, they are really, it has to be a reason why we are teaching them specific. And that's from our program. Do you know who's this guy? Ralph Nader, yeah. So that's the community. So the teacher prepared the students before we went to the National Arabic Museum, and she prepared them. She prepared them with the same vocabulary. She prepared them how to use the vocabulary, and they spent time preparing them. So it's not, there's a video, but I'm not sure about the sound, but it's okay. Maybe you can do that.
حط المايك عليه.
No, it should be, there is a... I don't see But the idea that the teacher was preparing them exactly with the same vocabulary, using the vocabulary that they're going to use in the lesson to interview Ralph Nader. So there was a purpose for this. From our Staff Talk program, again another video when she prepared them. As you can see, we have heritage and non-heritage students because this is the reality of our classrooms, and teachers learn how to use the heritage students as a source also to help the other students who are learning the language for the first time. Yeah, they are reviewing the words, they're talking, using the words, and learning هي هو, because they're gonna use هي هو, she and he, to introduce somebody. So that's, I'm glad you mentioned that. So we are teaching them هي هو
for a purposeful reason. I'm sorry about the sound, I don't know what happened, yeah. But you can see what's going on. Maybe we can call technician, I'm not sure, yeah. So, interview and presentation, then they did interview, they went and visited the National Arabic Museum, and they interview Ralph Nader. You can see the students interview him, and then they created a video presentation about Ralph Nader. I'm gonna try to provide this one. Please go back.
أنا من لبنان. مع السلامة.
Okay, so the content really simple to the point. They integrated technology, the students, and they created from real situation, authentic resource in the community. So it was really interesting. The other videos, they were teaching them mashhur, and they were using them, the students, هو مشهور, هي مشهورة. So when they went and talked about Ralph Nader, they didn't go without knowing what kind of vocabulary they're going to use and what to ask him, what's your name, and all these things. So they felt so happy producing this. Those students just there for 2 weeks, actually for 1 week. For 1 week only, and just to help the teachers practice the skills they know. We end up that the students like the program so much, and they went to their principals and they asked them to add Arabic into the classroom. And the school, Detroit school, the students, we thought they're gonna open 1 class, but they opened 4. So they were so interested after the startup program because of these kind of activities and all that. So this is
الرحلة إلى المتحف. أنا رالف نب.
And they used technology in the video to create this, and it was so much fun because integrating now, they added the technology as another component. Yeah, we have teachers who attended here. So, teacher impaired provide examples of integrating language, culture, content using authentic materials. So, any of you use this, any experience where you integrated all these 3 and you end up, please, if you can share. Anyone? Anyone? You want to share? Okay. Similar activities, similar, it's nice to share with each other. Yeah.
Yes, I remember I took my student to the restaurant, Arabic restaurant, and we were talking about food units for about a month. The kids learn all the vocab we need to learn and how to order the food, how to name all some of these, hummus, tabbouleh, falafel, shawarma, these things. And they have to be able to order them to get the food. This is my also short enough to be able to order. If you can order it, you can get it. So they took it and they love it. And we went, for the whole group, and they want to do it again this year. So it was a really good experience.
Yeah, but the key is you prepare them.
Yes.
We're not just
we have to prepare for the whole unit. We finished the unit first, then we went.
Yeah, and you're not going to translate for them. They have to live the experience. So it could be, so who wants to share?
أنا ببوسطن، فرحت مع طلابي على الهي ماركت ببوسطن. والهي ماركت عن المفاصلة، فبتروحوا الطلاب وبيشتروا خضرة وفواكه، ولازم يفاصلوا مع في نيتف سبيكر من هنيك من المناطق العربية، ومثلا عطيني $1، لا هي كتير غالية، لازم تكون بأقل من هيك، ونتبادلوا معهم هذا الموضوع، وكانت تجربة
So authentic experience.
Authentic experience.
Again, authentic experience. She prepared them. They're not using mufasala for like without a purpose. So they went, they know what's the reason, what's the objective of that interpersonal interaction. So, yeah. Any other? Oh, I have a hand there. Okay, good.
I have a group of students also. They went to Iraqi refugees family to teach them English, to help them with homework, and then of course they will help them with Arabic. So we prepare them to go there, what to say, and the etiquette, and how to say no for food. Yes, I like your food and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was a good experience.
Yeah.
I will do it again.
Okay, perfect.
And we did also the restaurant.
Yeah, nice. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So we had this experience a couple of years ago when we were dealing with a class which is like intermediate, high, advanced level kind of, and we had a film festival. So I was in charge of like looking for movies for the festival, and I was thinking, well, this is a good learning experience. So I asked the students to take part of the choice of the movies, and we created an IPA for that. So the students mainly, you have to look online for movies that we're going to purchase. It's an Arab festival. It's an Arab movie festival.
Yeah.
So I asked each of them to look for 6 movies, to read about them in Arabic, not in English, because looking for vocabulary, content, and everything. I mean, if you know how to talk about something in English, it doesn't mean you can talk about it in Arabic, especially at the advanced level. Yeah. So the interpersonal part was to come, everybody with 6 movies, and try to persuade and say why these movies are the best. The top 6 movies we're gonna do in the film festival. And it was a good experience because they were engaged, because they are the ones who were looking for the movies, and we're gonna show all these movies, but there are 6 of them by the end. That was like the interpersonal part. And then I asked everyone to present, because each movie in the festival, we need like a 2 or 3 minutes introduction for the movie. So every student took like part in that, where he talked about I don't know, who is starring the movie, the year of production, and what the story is about.
Yeah.
And that was like the presentation part.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. So the idea is to integrate the content and to let them live authentic experience when they do activities. Okay, heritage students. Use heritage students as authentic sources for helping the other students. They really love it. They can help them. It's really successful experience, and you can see from this video how they are helping each other. So everybody complains when you have heritage students and the same class with the other students. They are authentic resources for the other students. And so many times they love feeling empowered. I really empower them with your language. You know this language, it's so much needed for jobs and all. So they feel so empowered. Tell the other students who are learning the language, they don't know it, and the culture. Tell them about the culture. Tell them what do you do and this. You can't imagine how much they appreciate the heritage students, their language and their culture after they are engaged with other students who are learning the language. And they tell me really, I have a student who's at the beginning they feel okay, why we are learning the language and all that. But when you talk to them and you show them how they are empowered with their language, they really love it. They come one time, I spoke with the heritage student, one of them, he said, oh, I'm gonna cry. Because all this about Arabic and the need for Arabic, and we think only we're coming just because our parents, they want us to learn language. So this is very important.
I have a question about using students.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I have a couple of person students, and when I put students in pairs or groups, they are using different vocabulary that students that my Norwegian,
Yeah.
my Norwegian students know. And that's kind of tricky, so I have to go to the group, please can you stick to the rubric, the vocabulary we learned. So if there's any other way that I can manage this kind of problem sometimes?
Yeah, teach them the vocabulary you want them to use.
Oh, they know more. This is a problem.
Even if they know more, tell them to stick like those. They could go and talk about everything they do in Arabic, but they stick to أنا من لبنان, أنا من Detroit, all these, they stick really to what you want them to say. They can. And tell them they are learning, they can't understand anything more than what we taught them. And so they really, yeah?
I wouldn't do that. I would encourage them, I'm sorry, I would encourage them to use the language that, because this, in real life, I'm hearing that people are using different dialects, and when you don't get it, you ask questions. What do you mean by that? You hear it all over the place. It's okay to use a word that's not the same that it is taught. Because in real life,
those
people use different words and
they
ask
just
questions.
came to the class.
What do you mean by that, right? We do it every day.
Yeah, after a while, I would do this exactly, but not from the first minute. The first minute, I want them to feel, to take a risk, and to start saying them. And the students, the heritage students, understood the trick. After that, they become friends, you will see. They become friends and they become talking about so many things, and they can understand some of their dialects after a while. Yeah, but the trick, yeah.
Can I answer the questions that without yeah. Yeah, it's like you can like